And at this point, why even keep trying to play into the system when it ain't no light at the end of the tunnel no more?
I'm tired of feeling burnt out, working 2 jobs. I don't have no time for hobbies. Like literally, it's work, home, finding time to sleep, 4 hours of sleep, little cat nap for an hour and a half. And then when you're at the second job, the main job actually, you're just like a zombie. You're just literally a body just physically doing the things that you need to do just to get through the job.
Why keep on trying to save up for retirement when they keep pushing the age out to the point where you ain't even gonna be alive to see retirement? Why keep on trying to add to the 401k when they don't give you enough to add to the 401k and pay your bills? Why try to shoot for this imaginary life that they said you should chase after when you can't afford it? It's unattainable. At this point, I don't even see why we keep following the rules no more.
In 2021, women earned 58% of all U.S. bachelor's degree. Prime age male workforce participant hit one of its lowest peacetime levels on record. Single women now own more homes in America than single men. Marriage rates are collapsing across every income bracket. And the headlines keep asking, what's wrong with men? Nothing is wrong with men. Men figured out the system. And once a man figures out the system, like really figures it out, not just complain about it, he stops playing it the way he was told to play it. If you're a man watching this, the data is just catching up to what your life has already been telling you. You were handed a contract when you were young. Nobody sat you down and read it to you. You absorbed it from your father, from your teacher, your coaches, the movies, the commercials, the culture. The contract said something like this: work hard, show up, be responsible, don't complain, provide, protect, lead, sacrifice, do the right thing even when it costs you. And in exchange, the system would deliver respect, love, stability, a family, a home, a life that means something. That was the deal you signed without reading it. For decades, the men before you signed the same deal. A lot of them kept their end, and a lot of them got some version of what they were promised. Not everything, but enough to believe the system worked. Then you grew up, and you started running the numbers. The numbers, they stopped matching the pitch. You were told, get the degree. So you looked at the data. The National Center for Education Statistics show that women earned 58% of bachelor's degree, around 60% of master's degree, and the majority of doctorates. Men's college enrollment has been declining for over a decade, and the men who did enroll took on an average of around $30,000 in federal student debt for a credential that no longer guarantees anything.
When you were young, there were trades in the school. There were wood shop. Yep. It was optometry, sex ed, culinary arts, right? They strategically removed trades out of schools, so they crippled us from being self-employed.
That's a fact.
That's true.
Okay? Check this out, though. We didn't do that. They did that to us. To this very day, you can't go to no high school in the ghetto and find a trade in that school. So what happens? Kids get out, they're displaced. They close down the recreational centers, right? They remove, they put curfews in the parks, right? So now when we going to play basketball in the summer, now at a certain time, if you get caught past this time, you're going to jail.
Meanwhile, housing, medical care, childcare, intuition has all multiplied. You're running harder on the treadmill that keeps speeding up. You were told, get married. So you looked at the outcome data. Around 50% of first marriages still end in divorce. Stanford researcher Michael Rosenfeld 2015 analysis found that women initiate around 69% of heterosexual divorces. Family court custody outcome in the United States still overwhelmingly favor mothers. Census data shows that mothers receive primary physical custody in the majority of divorce cases. Child support and alimony obligation follows you for years, regardless of who left. None of that is women's fault. That's the point. It's the structure the marriage contract operate inside of a structure built on assumption about male sacrifice, that the culture updated the expectation on without updating the returns. You were told by the house. So you looked at the market. The median American home now costs over 5 times the median household income, according to the Harvard Joint Center of Studies, when it used to cost under 3. LendingTree data shows single women now out-own single men in home ownership across the majority of U.S. states. You're competing for shelter in a market that prices out the exact demographic that the contract promised would be set up for. You were told, be a good man. You'll be rewarded. Then you looked around and noticed the men being rewarded often weren't playing the game you were playing. There's a mental moment that every man that figures out the system has. It usually happens alone, in the car after a long day, at 3 a.m, staring at the ceiling, in the parking lot in a place that he didn't want to be. He's running the numbers again, the way he's been running them for years. And something lands differently this time. He's not angry. He's not sad. He's not bitter. He's calculating. I did everything I was supposed to. And the thing I was told that I would get isn't coming. And it wasn't ever going to come. Not the way that it was sold. And the question that lands next is the one that changes everything. If the deal isn't what I thought it was, why am I still playing it? That's the moment. That's when a man figures out the system. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The system didn't break. It revealed itself. The actual recognition goes something like this. He figured out the system needed his compliance more than it ever intended to deliver the reward. His hard work was low-bearing. Someone had to do it for the economy to run, for the institution to function, for the GDP to keep climbing. The reward structure was designed to keep him performing, not to actually pay out. He figured out the rule kept changing. Be provider, but not patriarchal. Be strong, but vulnerable. Be a leader, but not dominant. Be ambitious, but not aggressive. Be confident, but humble. Take initiative, but defer. Every move he made was a counter move, framing it as wrong. He figured out the approval he was chasing was a moving target. The more he gave, the cheaper it got for the system to raise the bar. Because a man performing for approval is a man who will keep performing, no matter how much approval he actually receives. He figured out the apps, the think pieces, the self-help industry, the dating coaches, the relationship experts. Almost all of it was structured to convince him that the problem was him, not the system. Him. Fix his confidence, fix his attachment style, fix his communication, fix his frame, fix his masculinity. Always him, never the incentive structure. An entire consulting economy was built on premise that the problem was inside him. Books, courses, coaches, subscriptions. Every product assumed the fix was personal because the product that says the system is structured against you doesn't sell. A product that says, here's the 7-step framework to finally become the man she wants, sells forever. He figured out his father and grandfather weren't offered the same deal he was. His father got a union job in a starter home on one income. His grandfather got the GI Bill and the pension. He got 2 part-time contracts, a credential that depreciates faster than a car, and a dating market that treats him as infinitely replaceable. And he figured out the most uncomfortable thing of all. The system isn't going to fix itself. Nobody is coming to give him a better deal. The contract isn't getting renegotiated. The incentive structure aren't going to realign in his favor. If he wants something different, he's going to have to build it himself, outside the expected path. So, he stops playing. Not dramatically, not with a speech, not with a manifesto. He just stops. He's not quitting, he's auditing. He stops enrolling in a degree that doesn't pay off.
A man is not responsible to pay your bills during the dating phase. Like, y'all be letting social media get to y'all head. Y'all over there talking about, so a man can't text me what I'm doing and my rent is $3,000. Why is your rent $3,000? Why did you accumulate all that? Okay, that wasn't his fault when you decided to stay there. Okay, I don't feel like y'all want a man for real. Just say you want a sponsor.
The reason why women don't is because they're always looking to upgrade. They don't look back. They don't look at the present. No, they're always looking at the future, as in, what guy can I attach myself to at this moment that will give me a better future? They don't believe in love and most certainly don't believe in commitment, something they've proven time and time again. They've shown over and over that to them, there is no such thing as Mr. Right. There's only Mr. Right now. So if some guy comes along that they think will improve their status, they'll jump on him both literally and figuratively. But here's the thing, and why in the end it's going to backfire on them all. Because men have finally figured that out, which is why they're walking away from dating, marriage, and relationships.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics has tracked a steady decline in male college enrollment for over a decade, while trade school and skill trade enrollment among young men has been climbing. The average age of first marriage for American men has risen from around 23 in 1970 to over 30 today, according to census data. He's not afraid of commitment. He's running a risk analysis. He stops buying the ring. Engagement ring sales have been declining in the industry-wide for years, with younger men spending significantly less than their fathers did at the same age. The De Beers pitched 2 months' salary. Diamond is Forever stopped working when the numbers on everything else stopped working. Stops carrying relationships alone. Stops footing the full dating bill. Stops being the one who plans, initiates, schedule, accommodates. Stops outperforming for attention that used to be given freely. And when the culture calls him lazy, entitled, checked out, failing to launch, he doesn't argue. He just keeps not playing. Because you don't argue with the game you've already decided to walk away from. The culture isn't reacting to this well, and there's a structural reason for that. Male compliance was low-bearing. The economy depended on men accepting debt for credentials, carrying the bulk of dangerous and physically demanding labor bureaus of statistics. Data consistently shows men account for around 92% of all workplace fatality in the United States, marrying and financial supporting families, staying in jobs that they hate, postponing their own needs to serve the system.
And then you go to the second job and it's like the same thing. And they're not even things that you love to do. You're just doing it to pass time, to just make a living.
When enough men stop doing those things, even passively, even without organizing it, destabilizes everything built on top of male participation. The housing market assumed men would keep buying. The education industry assumed men would keep enrolling. The dating industry assumed men would keep subscribing. The family court industry assumed men would keep marrying. The economy assumed men would keep working the jobs that nobody wants. None of those assumptions are safe anymore. That's why the conversation about what's wrong with men is so urgent in mainstream coverage right now. It isn't concern for men. It's alarm about the system. Because the system isn't worried about men. The system is worried about what the system looks like without men's compliance. And if you're a man watching this and you've been feeling like you're falling behind, losing your edge, failing some invisible test, you've been paying attention. Maybe you're not failing the test. Maybe you figured out the test was rigged. You didn't fall behind. You stepped out. You read the contract. You saw it wasn't what you were told. You stopped signing extensions. That's not a character problem. That's a rational actor responding to new information. And the men around you, the ones pulling back, slowing down, opting out of the aggressive climb, most of them aren't falling apart. They're recalculating. You don't owe the system your compliance because it was convenient for other people. You don't owe a culture that never offered you a straight deal the right to keep collecting on its rigged one. You don't owe anyone a performance of ambition inside a game whose rules keeps changing on you. You're allowed to figure out the system and then stop playing the version of it that was never built to pay you back. That doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean bitterness. It doesn't mean giving up on love, ambition, connection, or purpose. It means refusing to chase outcomes on rules written to favor someone else's benefits. Build the life the system promised you on terms you actually get to define. Find the people who are also done performing. Invest in what compounds instead of what drains. Love what's worth loving. Work for what's worth working for. Leave what isn't. That's what figuring out the system actually unlocks. Not exit, not withdrawal, not collapse. Agency. When was the moment for you? When did the math stop matching what you were told? What ran through your head when you finally saw it? Drop it in the comments. It's been your girl Rene here. I'll see you guys in my next video.